You chose what you had for breakfast this morning. You chose what caught your attention online. You chose your opinions. At least that's what it feels like. Over a century ago, Sigmund Freud's nephew engineered a system to shape what entire populations believe, want, and buy without them ever knowing. His name was Edward Bernays, and the machinery he set in motion didn't disappear. It evolved. Born in Vienna on November 22, 1891, Bernays moved to New York in 1892 and earned a Cornell agriculture degree in 1912. He began in medical editing, successfully promoting the controversial play Damaged Goods, before joining the U.S. Committee on Public Information during World War I. This massive propaganda effort coordinated news, posters, and speeches. Though Bernays' later memoirs inflated his personal wartime authority, the experience served as his commercial blueprint. Leveraging his family connection to Sigmund Freud for professional prestige rather than active mentorship, Bernays opened his first public relations office in 1919, beginning a career that spanned until his death in Cambridge, Massachusetts, in 1995 at age 103. Bernays operated on a cold, fundamental premise. Human beings are not guided by reason. Instead, they are driven by unconscious desires, silent impulses, and irrational fears that they themselves rarely recognize. He viewed his uncle Sigmund Freud's theories as concrete machinery rather than academic philosophy, realizing he could bypass conscious intellect entirely. His work targeted crowd psychology, focusing on the public as a responsive herd rather than a collection of thinking individuals. To guide this herd, he relied on what modern psychologists call social proof, the human tendency to look to others to determine what is normal or desirable. By organizing trusted authorities, shared symbols, and manufactured consensus, he could alter the social environment until a targeted choice felt entirely natural, self-generated, and personal. It was a practice he later termed the engineering of consent. While these psychological claims were never a precise, settled science, they functioned as remarkably effective tools for manipulating mass behavior. In the early 1920s, the Beechnut Packing Company faced a commercial problem. Bacon sales were stagnant as Americans drifted toward lighter breakfasts of toast and coffee. Bernays changed the approach. Instead of selling a package of bacon, he sold the idea of a hearty breakfast. He had his agency doctor write to 5,000 physicians, asking if a substantial morning meal was healthier than a light one. Over 4,500 agreed. The survey never mentioned bacon, nor did the doctors endorse beechnut. Yet, when Bernays distributed the results, newspapers across the country ran headlines declaring that doctors recommended bacon and eggs for health. Medical authority provided the credibility, social proof supplied the validation, and constant repetition normalized the meal. While this campaign was not the sole cause of every modern breakfast habit, it systematically reshaped the American plate by turning a corporate surplus into a clinical recommendation. In 1928, American Tobacco Company President George W. Hill faced a massive demographic barrier. Half of his potential market was locked away by a strict social taboo against women smoking in public. Hill hired Bernays to break this cultural block and expand the Lucky Strike brand. Rather than advertising the product directly, Bernays targeted the underlying struggle for female independence. He staged a demonstration at the New York Easter Parade on April 21, 1929. Bernays paid a group of fashionable debutantes to march down Fifth Avenue, pull out cigarettes, and light them before a crowd of reporters. He supplied the press with a carefully crafted phrase: "These cigarettes were torches of freedom." Dailies across the nation ran the photographs as a spontaneous feminist protest, completely obscuring the corporate sponsor. By linking a commercial product to a genuine social movement, Bernays pioneered identity-based marketing, selling a behavior through the self-image of its consumers. While this single event did not single-handedly trigger the rise of female smoking, it proved that public desires could be engineered by hijacking their values. In the late 1940s, the United Fruit Company faced a challenge to its vast empire in Guatemala, where it controlled major railways, ports, and over 800,000 acres of land. The newly elected president, Jacobo Arbenz, introduced an agrarian reform program designed to expropriate uncultivated corporate land and redistribute it to local peasants. To protect its monopoly, United Fruit hired Bernays. Bernays shifted the corporate dispute into a struggle of the Cold War. He began linking United Fruit's interests directly to American fears of Soviet expansion. He generated press materials, placed unsigned opinion pieces in major dailies, and distributed radio scripts framing Arbenz's government as a communist threat to the Western Hemisphere. He financed specialized press trips to Guatemala, leading journalists from major publications on curated tours that painted the land reform as a red menace. This media blitz created a permissive environment in Washington. In 1954, the Eisenhower administration authorized Operation PB Success, a covert CIA-backed coup that overthrew President Arbenz. Declassified CIA files document a state-run psychological warfare campaign that ran parallel to corporate efforts. A clear line exists between documented history and speculation. Bernays designed the public relations campaign that prepared the intellectual terrain, making military intervention easier to justify. But declassified records offer no proof that he personally coordinated or knew about the CIA's covert intelligence action. He engineered the public consent. The state executed the COUP. Bernays did not hide these methods in the shadows. He published them as a proud defense of democratic necessity. In his 1923 book, Crystallizing Public Opinion, he sought to establish public relations as a formal scientific discipline, arguing that chaotic public thoughts must be actively organized by expert counsel. 5 years later, in his 1928 landmark work, Propaganda, he laid bare his core philosophy with unsettling directness. The conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society. This manipulation, he argued, was steered by an invisible government, a dedicated class of professional persuaders who quietly shape public tastes, choices, and political policies without ever appearing on a ballot. By 1947, in The Engineering of Consent, Bernays fully formalized this defense. He asserted that because the modern world was too complex for the average citizen, true democracy actually required these specialists to direct mass understanding. It was a sharp contradiction, a system of hidden influence framed as the ultimate safeguard of free thought, rather than its threat. The manual mechanics of the mid-20th century have found a digital mirror in the architecture of modern media. While Edward Bernays did not build the algorithms that govern the internet, his core methodologies serve as the functional blueprint for contemporary persuasion. The trusted authority of the physician has transitioned into the influencer, the creator, and the celebrity endorser. The staged media event has been replaced by native advertising and sponsored content, carefully formatted to appear as organic contributions to ordinary cultural conversations. Even his reliance on social proof survives in the quantitative metrics of online engagement, where likes, shares, comments, and trending topics act as immediate, visible signals of collective validity. Identity-based marketing, which once linked cigarettes to emancipation, now drives personalized campaigns on a global scale. Products and political ideas are systematically framed as essential markers of status, independence, belonging, or moral virtue. This alignment is no longer executed through manual press campaigns. Instead, data-driven audience segmentation and psychographic profiling group individuals by their inferred habits, private anxieties, and emotional states. Automated algorithms then determine which message to deliver to which screen based on predicted relevance and engagement. Through these recommendation engines, commercial and political persuasion is disguised as a spontaneous recommendation from a peer, obscuring the institutional origin of the message. In the public square, modern political communication combines these emotional appeals, identity-based marketing, and micro-targeting to manufacture consensus. This system is rapidly accelerating through generative artificial intelligence, which synthesizes persuasive text, realistic images, cloned voices, and interactive personalities at an unprecedented speed. While platforms implement disclosure labels to flag sponsored or synthetic content, the actual effectiveness of these warnings varies widely depending on the platform, format, and user attention. The essential difference between Bernays' era and our own lies in scale, speed, and continuous operation. Bernays worked manually, restricted by the physical deadlines of newspapers, the scarcity of airtime, and the limits of geographic reach. Today's digital persuasion systems run continuously, adapting to individual behavior in real time for billions of people. Certainly, not every algorithm traces its lineage directly to Bernays, and targeted communication is not inherently deceptive. Yet the underlying premise remains identical: to alter the informational environment until the target's choice feels entirely self-generated. If you want to understand the hidden systems shaping modern life, subscribe for more. We now navigate an invisible architecture designed to predict and direct our every desire. The modern battleground is no longer for your consent, but for your subconscious. In this world of automated persuasion, the ultimate act of rebellion is pausing to ask, is this choice truly mine?